So if this works like they did before, you'll be given 5 minutes to introduce yourself, who you are and whatnot. Then we'll take questions out of here, and it'll be, each person will have 2 minutes to speak on whatever the question is. I haven't seen any on that, so I don't know what they are. And then 30 seconds.
I'll wave.
He'll wave and let you know you have 30
noise.
seconds. And then at the end, we'll move on to the next question. There won't be any rebuttals. So back and forth answer. Hopefully this will go well. So, you guys want to do rock, paper, scissors? You go first. Sure, 5 minutes. Talk about yourself.
Okay. My name's Tim Parker. I live here in Unity, and I serve as a selectman on the local board here. Spent a little bit less than 10 years with the county sheriff's office, and I represent the town of Unity on the county budget committee.
Getting a little louder, but as far as hearing, it looks like here.
Thanks, Gene, but no. I think that you're going to be really impressed with my opponent. She's a very highly qualified candidate, and she's definitely the better candidate. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Those kind words.
Louder.
Okay, I said thank you. I appreciate those kind words. I'm Elise Brown from Liberty, and I too am running for District 3. And yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to know where to go from saying that, so I'm just gathering my thoughts. I can tell you why I want to run. I can tell you why I feel I'm ready to run, ready for the role, and how I'm qualified for the role. So I want to run first and foremost because I love the people of Waldo County. Over the years, I've interacted with a lot of us, you, and just have such a deep appreciation for how we live here and how we work together, and just the culture and spirit that I see every day. And I want to run because I see opportunities at the county level to help make our lives go better. And I feel ready for the role because a lot of what I've been doing as a volunteer over the years, 30 years as a first responder, doing firework, ambulance response, emergency management planning, has really helped me see so much of what everyday life is for all kinds of people across every socioeconomic strata across our country. And so that's given me a deep appreciation for the people, our struggles, our will to thrive and survive, and what some of the issues and opportunities are. I can also say that through that interaction, I've worked a lot with county agencies and really have a sense of how we all work together as interdependent agencies, especially when it comes to our public safety system, where the county and the towns really need each other to deliver the quality and care that we all need and expect when 911 is called. So that's a lot of how I got interested in the role and how I feel ready and qualified as I'm 61 years old. I've lived a lot of life, a lot of personal struggles, a lot of professional struggles that have taught me a lot. And sometimes you'll learn the most from the hardest things you go through. And it's given me the chance to develop some leadership skills that I think could be helpful as the county sorts through some things. And a lot of it comes down to how can we work better together, how can we collaborate together between the counties and the towns to help deliver really high quality services at a price we can afford. I mean, as we all know, property taxes are enormously burdensome. They already were, and now a lot of people went through revals this past year, plus the school district. I mean, I'm sure Tim's seen it in the town, but also he's dealing with the budget. He's on the budget committee in the county. You know, it's really a source of stress for families. So I feel very committed to try to thread that needle, and it's not easy, between quality services and enterprise moving forward. I co-own and operate a business. I've had a lot of opportunity to work on solving problems, managing money, and for-profit business, if you don't figure out how to make money, you go out of business. So you got to get good at managing. So those are, some of the reasons why I'm running and why I feel ready and qualified.
Okay. So now we'll start with the questions. Just one.
I went first.
Okay,
Alternate.
you want to go to the question first? Okay. Well, some of this you may have already answered. Well, actually, I'm going to skip that one. You already asked the question. You already answered them. All right. How would people describe your leadership, communication, problem-solving style, and skills in your current role in your community?
The first word that comes to mind is collaborative. I feel very committed that people deserve to have a voice. And so I think people would describe me as trying to bring that at town meetings. I think there have been plenty of opportunities where I've tried to, listen for some of the concerns that are getting voiced, and maybe it's getting kind of tangled. And people have come up to me afterwards and said, you did a good job of trying to summarize what the core issue is and try to find that path forward. And I've heard that feedback from people. I've had some letters to that or talk about that in particular, because I think this is where we get bogged down. And it makes me sad when I see neighbors get frustrated with each other just because they feel like they're not being heard. And so, I've heard that that's something that I've learned to do pretty well. What was that?
How would people describe leadership, communication, and problem-solving style, and skills in your current roles in your community?
Yeah. Communication style, I try to be accessible and transparent. I try to convey clearly what I'm thinking. I try to listen deeply for understanding. I try to reflect back what I thought I heard to make sure I heard people correctly, because I find that really helps me then have a meaningful conversation, because if I make assumptions about what I've heard, I sometimes miss the mark.
30 seconds.
How's that? I'll call it good for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
Go ahead.
How would people describe your leadership, communication, and problem-solving style and skills in your current roles in your community?
People would describe it as big-headed with a big ego, but they would also describe the communication skills of something that was taught to me back in 2011 with the famous Scott story, which was with integrity. If you're honest and you fall on your sword and you tell the truth, people will care, people will listen, and people will connect with you, and they'll know that you're being true. There are times where we, without meaning it, will allow ego to get in the way of making good decisions. But as long as you're showing integrity and you're being honest with people with good intent, usually you'll be able to have a conversation at some point about the situation and come to a collaborativeness.
This question for you then. What have been the key elements of your campaign, and what have you enjoyed the most?
What have been the key elements? Well, I have absolutely not enjoyed this campaign at all. In any way, shape, or form. I started off having a lot of optimism with a lot of support, and I realized that I lost myself because I lost the people that mattered the most that was supporting me in this campaign. And that was hard to find joy in that. I also found a lot of friends that reached out and cared to listen to what was going on. And that was very joyful. So, but I would be lying if I said that I've had any kind of real happiness, because when you don't have the support system at home, you lose the purpose. And yeah.
Trying to find ones that are geared to both individuals.
Oh, geez, that's a hard one. Let's talk about Alice Power.
Same question to Elise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have been,
All right. What have been the key elements of your campaign, and what have you enjoyed the most?
well, some of the key elements have certainly been getting to meet people. Some new familiar faces I've met along the course of the campaign, and that's really been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, I was so intimidated by the thought of knocking on doors, but once I got out doing it, I actually enjoy it. I enjoy meeting people. Occasionally somebody's grumpy, but not much. And it's great working with drivers and getting to know them, so that has been a key element. I would also say trying to get around and meet with as many select boards as possible has also been great. I'm learning a lot, because I've worked a long time with Liberty, and you learn a lot working with your own town, but getting out, hearing themes and the variations across the towns is
Sorry. This one says Elise, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars or Star Trek? Oh, God.
That's a fair question.
Am I really supposed to answer that question? You're talking to someone who doesn't watch much of it.
If you want, I'll answer it. Star Trek definitely was before my time, so like Star Wars all the way.
Okay. So this one is geared to you, Elise, but I'm going to ask Tim the same question.
All right.
So, your turn. What is your past budgeting and management experience?
Okay. So in budgets in particular, so as I referenced in my business, we develop budgets every year, and we work to them and review them quarterly, and need to make tough decisions around those budgets for sure. And then in a sort of a governmental capacity, I've been on our town's budget committee for 7 years and chaired it for 4. One of the things that I put a lot of time into is we didn't really have a good tool for navigating through what the implication of any one particular budget decision had on the overall budget or had on the average tax bill. And I felt like that was an important tool to develop because, you have a lot of things in the budget to consider, and some of them are huge ticket items, tens of thousands of dollars, and other things are relatively small. But it's amazing how much time would get caught up on a relatively small item, and very little attention was put on something that was significant. And so I thought it might be really useful for people to see what it really meant, and also to have that tool available so that as changes were made, you could track real time what that meant to the bottom line. So I developed sort of a template for the town. We started to use it every year, and it's going forward. So that was a piece of work that felt important to me. The budget.
This is a fair question, but this will be a good answer. From Belfast, basically, my parents and I, we were working for. So basically, I had to build up my own business all by myself with no experience, no education, and no help. So basically, it's you live or you die. That's the experience on the business level. You go to the town level, it's all based off of your mill rate. So you try to keep your mill rate with your overlay as responsible as possible, and you keep your spending intact. The county system is a completely different beast because the county relies on all the towns to pay their bills. And basically, a lot of your towns will wait till the last minute to send their tax bills to the county, so that the county's waiting, which is waiting for the money, which basically means that the county then has to take out a lien which actually makes it so you guys all have to pay even more taxes because the towns aren't paying their bills on time, which was one of the big things that I had hit last year on the county budget when they wanted to go up 20%, and I was able to get them down to a 9. So it's a really difficult question because you could answer it in so many different ways. On a personal level, we're all expected to maintain our budgets. On the town level, you have a mill rate, and then on that county level, you're relying on your towns to pay their bills. So it's, I think for the actual question that you wanted to answer is on the county level, and that's basically if the towns don't pay their bills on time, it forces the county to have to go take out a loan, which then you have to pay, I think it was something like a 300% interest rate last year on a tax. So on a tax, basically a note.
Was that a tax anticipation note?
Yes.
Tam.
Yep.
Okay.
Some of these questions are directly from visual, not the other way to make them so that they're
It's all right, I got thick skin. Yeah, that was part of that big ego I was telling you about.
Oh, okay. Okay, it will. You may have partially answered it.
Okay.
Where did you grow up and where do you live now?
Grew up Belfast, live in Unity, and I made the most important decision of my whole life and became a father. So wherever my child goes next is where I plan on going. So I don't know where that is at this moment, but that's my plan.
Something.
I grew up in New York State and moved to Maine in 1989 and have been here ever since. I moved to the Liberty Montville area in 1989.
I was born.
I'm trying not to go up against you.
All right. Elise,
Yes.
does Waldo County Commission have a relationship with FEMA? And if so, how does that work?
So the question is, does Waldo County have a relationship with FEMA? So yes, indirectly. The commissioners maybe not so directly, but the Emergency Management Agency certainly does. And it works sort of from the top down. So there's FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and they develop all kinds of programs, rules, policies, etc. And they send those out to the state. Maine has the Maine Emergency Management Agency, so it goes from FEMA to MEMA. FEMA receives some of that program guidance and funding, and then that all trickles down to the counties. So then we have WEMA, Waldo Emergency Management Agency. So that's where the county fits in. So Dale Rowley is our County Emergency Management Director. He's excellent. He's probably one of the best in the state. Very proactive, very organized, and he has done a phenomenal job of building and maintaining relationships with the town. So I'm our town's local, it's LEMA, Local Emergency Management Agency. So I've been the director in Liberty. So it's a very sort of top-down structure, but within that there's a lot of collaboration between the towns and their county, and then the counties with the state. So the commissioners are related in that they, oversee the budget and help support the mission of our county emergency management department.
Same question.
It's the same. She said it. She nailed it.
That's why it's.
The only difference is that for Unity, we refer to it as an EMA. So in that person, that person deals with it, but it's the same exact situation. So I got nothing witty for that.
Nothing waiting for that. All right. This may have already been answered, but I'll ask it. Tim, What have you been doing to prepare yourself for the role?
Well, thank you for asking. So I have 3 major endorsements. One from your current county commissioner, Amy Fowler, who has spent a lot of time with me, preparing me on the books. Your former county commissioner before her, Jethro Pease, who I have talked to for the last 7 or 8 years about this. And then I also have endorsements from state reps like Mary and Kenny, who were fully, supportive as well. So, I mean, I've spent a large amount of time preparing for this, and it's a great opportunity.
Some question? So I would say the last 30 years has been preparation for the role in terms of developing the knowledge base at the local level and developing relationships and leadership and management skills. To prepare directly for this role, ever since I decided to run, I've been trying to study up as much as I can, but I also work and I've been trying to run a campaign. So I've been doing as deep a dive as I can. I've been meeting with select boards. I've been attending as many of the Waldo County Commissioner meetings and now budget committee meetings as I possibly can. I've scheduled meetings with all the Waldo County department heads over the last few months, was able to meet with each one of them individually, and then had all kinds of follow-up questions. They invited me and all the other candidates in to meet with them as a group. So I did that, and then I'm contacting the current commissioners, when I have a question, give them a call and talk something through. So those are some of the things I've been doing to get ready.
Now, I'll ask you this question. Question for you, that I'll let him comment in this time. What is the relation between the commission and the individual tenant?
At the end, power.
Oh, what is the relationship between the commission and the individual towns?
So, the county is very dependent on the towns to submit their taxes on time, as has been discussed earlier. So there's certainly that relationship when it comes time for billing and collection. One of the strange things that commissioners do that probably not all that many people are aware of is when the town has a tax dispute with a resident or a property tax owner and they can't resolve it themselves, they can bring it to the county as it's almost like they're the Board of Appeals when it comes to that kind of issue, and it also comes up around roads. So I think the commissioners have found themselves in an awkward position more than once, trying, it's their job to weigh in on those kinds of issues. So there's definitely that relationship. One of the things that I found interesting and really big opportunity as I talked and met with select boards is very few of them reported any regular relationship or communication with the commissioners about what's going on at the county level, what the issues are at the town level, and how might we better collaborate. So when it comes to that relationship, I think there are a lot of opportunities, and that's something we definitely want to build on and improve.
Oh, yeah. So actually, the county commissioner role is actually a very imperative role for all the towns, because the 12 towns in our district are the first line of defense for the actual citizen. You actually have your county commissioner role they actually have a specific role that is responsible for filling their budget committee chairs. And Amy Fowler reached out to me specifically if I would start asking the local towns when I was going around if we could try to fill that up. For the first time, and I think it was like 8 years like that, District 3 actually has a full set of chairs filled for their budget committee. And that was mainly because at each one of the towns that I was going to, we were able to get people to actually sign on and come represent their district. And that's one of the biggest responsibilities as a county commissioner, is to get engagement from their towns on that county process and to make sure that you are basically providing the best service. Because you look at a town like Unity, we rely on a heavy law enforcement presence when we have common ground. You know, we for a long time would rely on the sheriff's department for Unity Raceway. And you could look at a different town like Searsmont. When we were doing the Waldo County woodshed stuff back in 15 and 16, I was always taking guys down there to split wood so that we could donate it to people that needed it. There's all kinds of different needs that the county, you know, especially in these districts. One big thing that in our audience Jeff and Jason could speak to is the garden project. I mean, the overwhelming need of people actually needing food is a huge thing in Waldo County, and that garden project served everybody. And it's imperative that your county commissioners be involved in their districts, because each one of those districts have different needs, and that's why they're supposed to be there representing them.
All right. Tim,
Yes.
question for you. Did you have anything to add after this? Does Waldo County Commission have anything to do with the transmission line between Rustic and Mass?
Well, it's interesting that we get this question because I did an interview last week where basically the person wanted me to comment on wind and solar power along the coast too, and I had to explain to them that that's not in my district. But the answer is there is always going to be a conversation that needs to be had from the county commissioner level. If you look at all of the towns, though, that were affected by the LS power transmission, we all basically got together and we started doing ordinances and working together because we knew on that local level with more people involved, the stronger we would be. I actually don't think that your county commissioner would be able to play a direct role in stopping the state of Maine once it had federal backing on the actual putting the transmission line through. But I do think that there's an influence there that definitely a county commissioner could play. But you also are only 1 out of 3 county commissioners.
Good.
Well, yeah, I think similar to what Tim referenced, I think the county commissioners can absolutely play a role in helping the towns coordinate and do that sort of collaborative planning rather than them needing to do it on an individual basis. And it's true that county commissioners don't have any direct role, but to the extent that the commission can help facilitate town communication and collaboration, is what I would advocate for.
All right, this one, let's see here. You may have already answered this. But in what ways have you demonstrated clarity and transparency?
Could you speak loudly?
Yep. In what ways have you demonstrated clarity and transparency with District 3 voters regarding your intentions in your campaign, and how have you demonstrated your commitment to the commissioner role should you be elected?
I think it feels important to me. Well, I'm going to back up. So one of the things about running for Waldo County Commissioner is very few people know what it is. They don't necessarily know what the role is. They don't really know a whole lot about county government. So, you know, it becomes an interesting problem because you're wanting to explain what you would do as commissioner, but you have to start by explaining what a commissioner is and does. So I've tried hard to help, you know, make that more visible, as well as talk about what my approach would be. So I wasn't initially going to do a website, but then I noticed there were so many questions about it that it felt important to me to try to build one so that that information was available. I've tried to make posts on my campaign Facebook page about what I've been up to and what my feelings and approach would be. I had reporters call and ask, you know, fill out all these surveys. It take quite a while, but I felt a responsibility to the voter that they would know what they were getting if they decide to vote for me. So I guess that's been my commitment to the voter. And I've tried to be available a lot during the campaign, you know, try to get out and meet people and answer a question when people contact me.
I'm going to pick on 2 people, and they're not going to be happy. First, I'm going to pick on Jean, because she has this amazing thing that I do not like, but it is amazing. And it's this email that just shoots a bunch of information. And every single day, it's like my phone's pinging with her sending me emails. But what it shows is how active the library is. The most important thing is for us to give accurate transparency on the services that are supposed to be expected to the end user. That is what this is at the end of the day. This is a $12, $13 million business, okay? And the taxpayers are expecting services. That is why when you sit with Jason, well, I'm not picking on you, but I am picking on you, and the budget committee wants to give him 3 cars, he's asking for 5. Somehow you compromise and you get him 4. Okay, because at the end of the day, he still needs to be able to do his job too. The other person that I will pick on though will be Jeff Trafton, because he taught me back in 12 that what it comes down to when you're serving is it's all about that customer service. It's all about how you treat people. And it's all about making sure that they feel like that they matter. And that's what this does come down to, is that you have a $12, $13 million business that you are paying taxes into, and that you have the right to know what you're getting for a service.
All right, here's another question here. Voters appreciate accessibility to their leaders. How have you made yourself available to the voters to learn about your qualifications and ideas or contact you with questions?
Well, I will definitely say this, my voters have no problem reaching out to me. They do it through email, they do it from coming to my house, they shoot me a text and they call me. And sometimes they do it very strongly. And they know that they can, and they know that it goes back to that integrity word. I may not always be the nicest when I respond at 3 in the morning, or when my business ends up on a website that it shouldn't. But I'll always be honest, and I'll always be transparent and have integrity with my intent.
You did? Okay. Voters appreciate accessibility to their leaders. How have you made yourself available to voters to learn about your qualifications and ideas or contact you for questions?
Well, I think I alluded to some of that in my previous comment. I have tried to publicize as much as I can through, Facebook only goes so far. Whomever is on Facebook can see those posts if they're following local affairs, and I've tried to get out and meet people. And then I've tried my best to make myself available through the press, because that's more accessible, especially through the local paper. But sadly, the Republican Journal and the Free Press, transitioned in September, so that has definitely become a little more constrained, I'd say, with that regional paper. But I've done my best to make myself available. I put my phone number and my email address on everything I send out.
All right. So the remaining questions that I have are directed at Tim, even though you're kind of difficult. I'll tell you what. I'll ask you the question. I'll also ask you the question. This is like 4 parts. 4 questions to say. Do commissioners get paid? How many commissioners are there? How long is a term? And is it a full-time job? Probably answer the last one. Probably not a full-time job. But what about the other 3?
Well, it could probably easily be a full-time job. There's enough work there to occupy anybody many times over, like most public service positions. It is paid. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's in the vicinity of $15,000 a year. And it's a 4-year term. And what was the middle part? Oh, and there are 3 commissioners. Each one represents a district. This is District 3. District 1 is sort of the greater Belfast area. District 2 is Searsport, Winterport area, Monroe, around there. And we're 12 towns. in that position.
Do you have anything to add to that, or was that question answered?
I think that honestly, the last part of your question is it a full-time job? I think that, to be honest with you, if you've ever served in public service, they don't tell you this, but when you do a selectman role or any kind of elected official role, you don't realize going into it just how full-time of a job it is. And the wage that they attach to it will never be able to actually pay for what you give up. And I would highly suggest that people not focus on that pay part of it, because the amount of hours that these elected officials give can never truly be compensated for, especially for what they lose.
All right. This is a question for you, for Mr. Parker.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, I can tell with that tone.
Okay. You recently posted that you're planning on possibly moving out of the area next spring. If you win the election, will you be required to live in the county?
I've already alluded to answering this, so I'll answer it again. I think that you have a very highly qualified candidate sitting over there. And I would strongly encourage people to vote for her, because I take my responsibility as being a father first, and I'm going to go wherever my kid goes. And I really appreciate the opportunity. I would hope that my kid would come back to Unity, and that I would be able to serve and do that here. But at the end of the day, that comes first.
So, with that's pretty much the majority of the questions.
Would you take questions from the floor?
I'm okay with it.
If they are
Probably.
for both candidates?
Yes.
Yep. Certainly. So, Luann,
I eat low carb.
so because that was a question really only directed to Tim, I'll allow you to ask the question. Elise could answer it first, and then Tim can step in.
Several years ago, I was a selectman in the town of Freedom, and I also spent a great deal of time at the commissioners' meetings because I wanted to be involved and to see what was going on. And one of the things that I noticed with the commissioner's job was not just managing the funds, but also managing the people that work for the county. And my question is, what are your management skills and pluses and minuses on managing the people that work with you? Because I saw a lot of people in the 3 years that I was on the board that would come and go, and some of the commissioners didn't seem to care that that was an issue. They were not cognizant of what the help needed. And so what are your skills on, managing the people that work under you?
Thanks for the question. That is hugely important, because your services are only as good as your people.
Yeah.
And it is immensely important that the employees are thought of well, and that the HR department is managed responsibly, because especially with constrained budgets, you don't have a lot of extra money to throw around to fix issues. You really have to have a very sharp mind for human resources to make sure that you attract the right people, that they're well qualified, and that you're able to retain them. And through my years in business I have been in the HR seat, overseeing our HR department. We have about 14 employees, and so I've learned a lot over those last 17 years. And I think a lot of it, comes down to the relationship building, and really having an HR department where it's clear from the outset that you intend to treat them well, that, employees are people with families and needs, and that if you create that culture where people are appreciated and that they're well paid, then they will stay around if there's a good work environment and the benefits and the wages are appropriate for the role. You know, especially during COVID when wages were tight and law enforcement in particular really had difficulty attracting and retaining candidates. I think the commissioners had to become, I'm not sure of history, so I don't want to cast any judgment whatsoever, but most people had to realize that they better take a hard look at the wages paid, because one of the things that happens with a revolving door is if you're not really paying people enough to attract and retain people, they're gonna go right out the door. So that was a long-winded answer.
Thank you.
It would be a big focus.
What was your name? I'm sorry.
Elaine.
Hi. To answer your question, it's a $12, $13 million business. Unfortunately, it's a business that's ran off of tax money. It's not a for-profit. If you were in a for-profit, you would be doing services that would make you money. Unfortunately, you have to go the other way with this situation. I had an amazing employee for me when I was at the jail. He was the best corrections officer that we've ever had. I don't care what anybody says, it's the truth. And when I walked in, I knew that if somebody was going to hang or if somebody was going to attempt suicide, he had my back and I had his. And no matter what, that person was going to live. I never had anybody die on my shift. Mm-hmm. I did have one person who did not make it after my shift was over. And I held on to that for years. The most important thing that you can do is to sit with your people and let them know that they're not alone. Let them know that you are there with them and that you love them genuinely and unconditionally. And that means that whatever they say to you, you give them grace and you give them understanding. That will take care of almost anything. And I agree and I disagree with you, respectfully. If you do that, money's not going to be the difference maker. Having somebody who loves you is.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
I don't care who answers it first. My name is Meredith Coffin, and this seems like an amazing, immense job, and so it must require somebody to be pretty well organized. And this is why I'm not running for it. But, so can you speak to what you feel that would be, you know, the need for organizational skills, and do you have them?
Can I be selfish and answer this one? I threw
It's
you
your
under the bus
turn first
today.
anyway.
All right. I take care of over 100 properties. I have 9 towns and over 70 cemeteries on top of the 20 properties that I have out here in Unity. I think that it's a very fair question. You're only as organized as the team that you have at home. I have learned that very humbly this year as I started to spiral out of control for the last 3 or 4 months in my own personal business. Organization is everything, but more importantly, having the foundation underneath you is just as important. Because you could have the best plan in the world, but what they would teach you in freshman school is the plan goes out the window when you get punched in the face. So with the organization skills that you're asking about, though, to answer your real question, you have to go into it not only with organization skills, but the flexibility to be able to learn and to take it and to go. Because there's going to be things you're just not going to know, and when you don't know, you say, I don't know, and you ask questions.
Thank you.
No problem.
Do you want to comment?
Sure. I get teased about this, but I tend to be a fairly disciplined person. I get up at 4 and I do a lot of work, and then I exercise and I make my breakfast and I pack and I go to work, and then I come home and do some more community work or whatever, and then I collapse and go to bed. And that's just how I roll. My partner's here, she can attest to that, because it's been pretty much the same for years and years. And in my work life, it's not just about being organized for me, it's also being able to step back and take kind of take that bigger view and make sure that you're always prioritizing correctly. Because it's so easy to get down in the weeds. Something catches your attention and down you go, and you can spend hours and then you come out and you're like, oh, some other important things maybe I should have been paying attention to. So I think I've developed the ability to try to regularly do that step back and make sure that my attention is being directed where it can be most advantageous. So in the instance of being a commissioner, where you have various departments to oversee and make sure things are flowing smoothly, I would, especially in the beginning, you really want to be the observer as best you can for quite a while so that you can really get a sense of what those higher level needs are and make sure you're focusing your attention appropriately.
Thank you.
I have a question, and I want to word this well, so I'm going to ask you the question.
You asked me a question?
Yes.
Oh.
I
got 5 minutes.
I've never been to a forum like this where one of the candidates has said, vote for the other candidate. I may move out of the district, that kind of thing. And so I'm confused by that. Just confused. It's like it's an elephant in the room here. And so the way I'd ask it is, if you get elected, will you serve the full 4 years? Can you guarantee us, short of death, within a reasonable, will you serve that out? Are you intending to serve that out? If you are, great. If you're not, why are you running? That's really what I want to ask.
Can I answer?
Okay.
I feel like that I already did kind of answer your question. I'm going to reiterate it again and try to answer it more clear. Circumstances that had happened in my personal life were not foreseen. That happens to everybody in life. You can't see the future. I was already pretty clear about it, so I'm going to say it again. There's nothing more important than being a dad. That was the job that I signed on when I decided to become a dad. If that means that I have to move to go be with my kid, that's what I'm going to do, and I will resign if I get the role. I have already said it very clearly. That is the best candidate, and I'm telling people that she is very overly qualified and that you should listen to what she has to say. And that's what that comes down to, is that I can't see the future. I don't know what the future would be. If my family was here, I would definitely say she's not the best candidate, respectfully. But I can't say that. And at the end of the day, I need to be the best dad that I can be, and I think that anybody that's a dad would say the same exact thing. I can't go back and undo what I've done to get to the process that I am here doing right now. And I mean, that is what that is. I can only go forward. So, again, to answer your question, you can vote for me if you would like to, but you have a very highly qualified candidate right there, and you're not going to lose with either person that you vote for.
Thank you. It doesn't answer my question, but thank you.
Yes, it does. You want to?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess at some point I've been wanting to say, Tim, my heart goes out to you. I've been through some personal hardships, and you have a plan in life, and then, like you said, something happens, and that you didn't foresee, and it has a big impact. And so I just want to extend my.
I appreciate that. You can ask Elise the very first thing that happened in May. Got on the phone, called her up, and said, "Hey, let's do the county thing. Let's go across the county. Let's go meet people. Let's do it together." Totally have dropped the ball on that. I haven't been able to. My priority is every single week making sure that I drive an hour and 20 minutes to go see my kid, because that's my priority. That's what comes first.
And then just to answer your question, Matt, yes, I fully intend to serve the 4-year term, barring personal tragedy, death, etc.
Unforeseen things?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
You had your hand up first.
I did. My name is Chase. I live in Unity. And maybe another way to ask the question, because I can hear, Tim, that you're trying to give us a clear and transparent answer.
Sure.
So to the both of you, is why are you running? And that implies for you, Tim, why are you continuing to run? So why are you two running for this office?
I am running because I want the position and I intend to earn it and I intend to serve it.
I am running because I have family that's from here. I've watched them have to live here. I had every intention on raising my family here. I wanted the job because I wanted to leave Waldo County better than when I received it. That's why I wanted it.
I think we're all struggling with the mechanics.
Well, I think that
Huh? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Why does one continue to run with the promise that there's something that will take you away from the position?
you can't foresee the future.
Sure.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
This is literally what, October 10th? Elections in about a month. Anything can happen in a month.
Okay, thank you. That's clear.
Two more questions. You have your hand up.
I'm just wondering why you didn't, I saw your website on Facebook around the middle of September, and you announced that you were backing off and not going to run. And I saw that and heard it, video and voice. And then I went to go back to that website because I was checking out both candidates and that kind of thing. And the site soon thereafter was down, and then went down for sure. So I don't understand why you don't just tell the Secretary of State, and why have people vote their precious vote with all that uncertainty? Why not just go to the Secretary of State and say, I'm not running?
Because we have less than 30 days.
Well, it's been more since, it's been a while.
And in my video, I very specifically said that I wasn't active. I didn't say that I was stepping down or anything. All I was be campaigning.
Weren't there some conversations about you backing out of the campaign with people?
I don't know whose conversations you've been having these with, but I know that you and I don't talk. So
No, so I'm just asking. So,
again, I haven't.
It's not your intention.
Again, I haven't had these conversations.
Okay.
It
So I have no clue.
sounds like he's answered
Yeah,
what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Is your question for both parties?
Well, it's a general procedural question.
Okay.
If Tim were to win and move, what is the procedure to replace a vacancy on the commissioner's board?
Well,
Anybody know
if
that?
I was to win, I am allowed to defer to another Republican candidate. If the Republican caucus would choose to find one to put it into that space.
Governor is not involved in any way? Because I tried to do a little research. I thought the appointment is actually.
It's my understanding that the Waldo County Republican Committee would submit a list of choices to the governor, and then the governor would make an appointment.
That's sort
To the
of what
best
I
of my
understood, but
knowledge.
I wasn't sure.
In the interest of time,
Yeah.
at this point, give final comments from you, Elise, first. You second, and
No, well, I just want to thank you all. I want to thank Jean Work for putting this together and making it available. I want to thank you all for coming. Thanks to the timekeeper and the moderator, and especially thanks to Tim. I know we talked about doing many of these, so I'm glad we got a chance to do it as well. And I hope to serve you all as best I can in the role of Waldo County Commissioner. Thank you.
Yeah, I also am very grateful for everybody that's come out. There's a lot of uncertainty that has been brought up, but keep in mind, all 900 of those personal dollars came out of my own personal pocket. and that's money that I won't get back either. So, I mean, I also made the biggest investment in myself in this campaign, for myself, for my family, and, you know, I don't take the decision very lightly, and I appreciate Elise and everybody else coming out and all of your very warm felt words, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.